Hi, I'm Chuck Dorsett for Weaver Leather Craft Supply. Let's talk about lining our leather. Now, the first thing you're going to think, and me too, snooze fest. No, you'll see, there's some cool stuff here. We're not going to talk about a pin holder with a flannel liner. We're going to look at some cool designs using a liner. All right, now, we need to talk about why we need a liner. We need to talk about applicators and glues and whatnot. But let's do this first. Let's look at some samples and get excited about this because this is cool. All right, first off, personal project, making a pair of saddlebags using a nice, deep, rich oil dye. Now I'm going to take that, I'm going to add an acrylic paint to match one of our beautiful blue suedes. Is that not going to be a gorgeous project, particularly with that blue as a liner? All right, let's take that a step further though. Sporran, purse, pouch, backpack, duffel, and even the design, one of many. All right, what I've done here, I've used the suede as my backing, but I've actually also used that suede as part of the decoration too. I've cut through my veg tan. Now that's a chocolate oil dye, red suede, striking. Isn't that beautiful? All right, take that though. Take that and run with it. That is just a simple crosshatch pattern. Think of floral or Celtic or tribal, your own designs. There is no end to the possibilities, both with colors and then with the designs that we're going to use with those colors. Here's one more thing though, and I just love this. We'll have to look at this. This is one of our beautiful teal suedes, one of about 20 rich, gorgeous colors. Just think of the possibilities, combining a veg tan with cutouts and a teal or orange or yellow or pink. No end to the possibilities with designs and colors. Now, one more thing, one more example, but now this kind of leads us into why do we need a liner. Made this briefcase with this beautiful nubuck. It's a nice buff finish, buff color, but it's just too soft to make a good briefcase by itself, or purse, bag, clutch, backpack, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this leather. I'm going to shore it up with a little more weight. So with the briefcase, I've added a chocolate brown suede that gives it a good, nice feel, about an 8-ounce leather now. But also I'm going to cut through that top grain, or that top leather, into my liner, and I get that beautiful thistle look. So, one of the reasons we want to add on the utility side, sort of, is to shore up a weight. Say you've got a beautiful chrome, but it's just too thin. Say you want to make a holster or maybe a clutch with some good body to it. We'll take a veg tan, 4 to 5 to 6 ounce veg tan, line that, and you've got a good weight. You've got your exterior, which you wanted to use and couldn't. You've also got this good feel to it. But now you've got this nice liner too. And you can go a number of different ways. Just about any leather will line any leather. The exception there is leathers with high oils. Again, right? All right, so one of the reasons we want to use a liner is to shore up the weight. Here's another reason. Now, with holsters, and this is a good example, the men and women who are the quick draw artists, they want a top grain on the inside. They want a smooth release. So without a liner, that's almost impossible. But for the rest of us, me included, I want suede in there. That's going to add a little grip to that gun, much like a saddle seat does. So this mouse pad, years old now, still looks brand new, but I've lined this with a suede. Here's why. Now, if I've got just a top grain down or a good skive down, that's not going to sit tight. But when I flip this over, look at that. That sits clean and tight. And like I said, I've been using this, I think, for about 3 years. Still looks brand new. Now, we know why we need to add a liner. Great, shore up the leather, and we can actually use that liner as part of the decoration. All right, let's talk a minute about glue, and this is easy enough. Think about it this way. If you're going to tack to sew, use a white glue, just a Leathercraft white glue. If you're going to tack for permanent, use a contact cement. Well, that's a great rule of thumb. Now, the white glue, typically water-based, so not great out in the elements, but if I'm sewing that line anyway, matters not. But if I'm not going to stitch, I'm going to use a contact cement. Now we have an S18 and of course top shelf barge. This is going to make the two pieces of leather react as one when I glue these together. But now this is a contact cement. So I'm going to put 2 coats on both pieces that I need to glue. I'm going to let those dry to tack or give them 4 or 5 minutes and you'll see it'll look very dry. It'll feel very dry, but it's going to be very tacky. Now simply lay those together. Well, there's a trick there and there's something we need to be very cautious of. We'll get there in just a minute. But with glue, easy enough. 2 types of glue, contact cement and white glue. Now, application. This is a trick here, it's a great tip. If you're a leather shop and you do a lot of gluing, of course, the standard glue pot, Teflon glue pot is a great way to go. We also have a glue can, good way to go. But as a crafter, I'm not really gonna line a lot. I'm not gonna use glue an awful lot. So first thing, I can use a dauber. These are great. It's a nice lamb's wool. It's gonna hold a lot of glue. But also too, it's small enough to where I can hit small projects and I can hit my edges. Say I just want to glue this back to back. Easy enough. It'll take me no time at all to apply glue there. Foam brushes, they're okay, but what I tend to find out with a little bit larger project, I tend to start tearing up the brush in no time. All right, so here's the biggest trick with this and a great tip. Let's talk about that briefcase because the main body on this, 16 by 40 inches, and I have to glue 2 of them. That is going to take me forever. That's going to be like painting a school bus with a Q-tip if I use a dauber to try to apply glue to a pattern this big. So great tip, paintbrush and a paint roller, just like I would use in my house. Now, small paint tray, so I can load my tray with my glue, roll that out, and then with this roller, I can cover this whole piece, in 5 minutes, probably have both pieces covered, both sides, in about 10 minutes. So, easy enough. Now again, there's a trick to this, and we'll talk about that here in just a second. Nice. So, we've talked about why we need a liner, how we can use it as a decorative. We've talked about some applicators and the glue itself. Here's one last tip for this video, and this is a big one. When I'm going to line a piece of leather, now this is a veg tan, so I'm going to cut my veg out. I'm going to do my edge work on that, but then I'm going to take my liner and I'm going to overcut that liner. So if this is an 8x8, I'm going to cut my liner at 9x9. I'm going to lay this right in the center and trace it out in ink. Well, now ink's not going to matter because here's the thing. It's either going to be under glued on or it's going to be trimmed off. Here's what I'm getting at. By overcutting my backing, I'm knocking out 2 problems. First off, with that line, all I have to do is get glue around the edge of that. So here's the problem. If I'm working with this and I'm working my edge and dropping my glue in and I get glue over here, I run the risk of moving my pattern or moving my project, and all of a sudden I've got glue across the front. If it's a veg tan, project is shot. That's not going to take dye. It's not going to take finish. So on my main body, I need to go right to my edge. But that's relatively easy because I've got some body there. But on my back, I can just go within, say, 1/2 inch of the edge. What I'll do is I'll drop this down right in the center of that. Then I can use this part of my pattern, the main part of my body, as my straight edge, trim around that, and what happens? Look at that. That looks like it was die cut. So I'm actually using the body as the straight edge. I'm overcutting so that I don't have to worry about glue getting on my work surface. Knocks out 2 birds with 1 stone. I get a perfect glue each and every time. Well, I hope these are some great tips. I hope lining leather takes your leather work up to a whole new level. Good luck with your projects.